Welcome to Face to Face, and today we're going to talk about nonviolence. We're going to go to California. I'm with Michael Nagler from the Metta Center for Nonviolence. Welcome to Face, Michael.
Thank you so much, David. Delighted to be here. I hope I can.
No, it's an honor because Presenta is working for peace and nonviolence for a decade now, and we love to have people who are in the same mental direction and really are concentrate their life to better the development of humanity. So it's an honor to have you, and we really appreciate your work and your contribution.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Please introduce yourself, give us a tour of what Metta is, what are you looking at doing, and what you have done, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, well, we consider among the many problems which humanity faces right now, you can wrap them up in one portmanteau word and say these are all forms of violence. So the cure for every one of them then becomes what is the cure for violence, which is nonviolence. And in our deep association or attempts to understand Mahatma Gandhi, we came to see that he felt that nonviolence really should not be a negative term. It is the core positive element in human nature. And all violence is really a denial of who we truly are. So the Metta Center has been in existence for quite some time now. And what we do is we develop educational materials to help elevate consciousness and intellectual awareness of nonviolence and what its resources are and so forth. And our most recent adventure, which is going to be occupying us for some time now, is called the Third Harmony Project. And the Third Harmony Project, and you can find out about it at thirdharmony.org. Third Harmony is one word on that site.
That's a simple way to do it.
Yeah. We have these three projects. So we have a film called The Third Harmony. And we have a book called The Third Harmony.
Okay.
And there also is a board game. Unfortunately, I can't reach it right now. It's called Cosmic Peace Force. So those are the kind of three core resources. That the Metta Center has a lot more. We teach courses. We have a bi-weekly radio program. And
also you have also very short videos. They were very nice, like 3-minute videos about
and we have a lot more of those in the can. You say, they have been created, but we have yet to parse them out. We're going to probably do them once a month in connection with one of our resources or another. But we're most enthusiastic right now about the film. I think the film has gotten awards. It's been translated into Italian and Spanish and maybe one other language. I understand French and German might be coming.
Okay, exactly. We will work on it.
And by the way, my partner Stephanie was a French teacher. She can help with that. Follow along.
Right.
But anyway, it was at the United Nations Association Film Festival and a number of other festivals, and we're really happy about it, and we'd like people to know about it. There's, organizations have taken it and used it as an educational tool, because I think I can say that it does have a lot of basic information about nonviolence, which is not really easy to come by.
That's a complication. Yeah.
And not only that, but it's the kind of nonviolence that Gandhi worked for, which means almost a restructuring of human nature, or rather, an unveiling of human nature,
Exactly.
a liberation of what human nature really is.
Uh-huh.
We regard violence and all of its forms
Uh-huh.
as conditioning, as a veil, as the Sufis would say. It's veils that conceal our true nature
Hmm.
from ourselves.
Absolutely.
And that's why when people practice nonviolence, they find very, in it, regardless of whether they win or lose on a given issue, they feel that there's something very deeply satisfying about that.
Uh-huh.
So on the one hand, you have this tremendous and tragic rise of moral injury, as it's now called, among servicemen and women, that they suffer terribly.
Oh yeah. Oh
Not
no, I have
yeah,
friends, veteran friends who are
oh,
like in situation. It's
what
bad.
a thing to do to human beings.
Yeah.
It's not what they have been done to by others. It's what they have done that really
Themselves.
tortures them.
Yeah.
And so to practice nonviolence is exactly the opposite. It gets you out of there. It liberates, as I say, who you really are. And on the other hand, it's also extremely interesting, and there's a lot to learn.
No, absolutely. But the COVID pandemic also put people in situation of very hard uh, reality on some ways of the how to deal with violence. And I think we have a lot of cases of people who have really complicated situation.
Well, I think that shows how we have so many unsolved problems,
Yeah.
psychological, spiritual, and what the epidemic did was
To break.
bring out
Yeah.
some of those problems which we had suppressed. So
Yeah.
you can almost say that in a way, David, this is a great opportunity.
Absolutely, I totally agree. But
Yeah.
but the illusion, it starts, and I think this is what is a good moment for us to talk about, because
Yeah.
it's really hopefully when the dream or the illusion start to collapse, and then you have to work with other type of resources, then non-violence click in. But you need to recognize violence to be able to move on. That's it a bit.
I think, isn't it Jacques Ellul who said, and I'm going to try to translate this if you correct me.
Okay, good luck.
He said, this is not the age of violence, it's the age of awareness of violence.
Exactly.
In other words, a recognition that violence is hurting. It is a violation of something. So the more we can become aware of that something, the more problems of violence will resolve almost by themselves.
I mean, just like I think yesterday was a news article who said that 10 million people quit their job in the US in the last months or something. So, I mean, and I don't think anybody understands what's going on, and why do people quit their job now than they didn't like a year ago. So I think that's a very interesting sign of something new is happening.
I think what it is, and I've been puzzling about this also. I think what it is people have recognized that they have to do something meaningful with their life.
Yeah.
And the work that they were given to do is not meaningful.
Yeah.
And that again,
and the condition
in
which they are doing it is not.
The conditions under which they work and the purpose of the work.
Yeah,
absolutely. A lot of it is exploitive of the environment, of people.
Yeah.
And that is not fulfilling human purpose.
Yeah.
I remember a story, and I think this is in the book, David, but it's not in the film, about a U.S. Marine who was in Sri Lanka, I think, and after the tsunami, the very terrible one, he was handing out food. That was his job, handing out relief supplies. And somebody spoke to him at the end of the day and said, this is not what you're trained for. How do you feel about doing this work? And he said, I have been serving my country. You could almost hear the quotes. I have been serving my country for 34 years.
I know.
And this is the first day that I got any satisfaction out of it.
Wow.
So it just shows you we need to recognize what human beings have within them, what they're capable of, and give them an opportunity to put it to work.
But I think the problem is at the social and cultural level,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
things are. I mean, I remember myself going in Paris, in some of the very short suburb of Paris, asking for space to do community center and or center of nonviolence. And the official was like, no, but we are fine. We are not doing. I mean, we don't need any of this. And then 10 years later, that's where the kid burns the car. I don't remember the car burning in France. They
Yeah.
were exactly
Oh,
where we were going, knocking on door to
oh
get
boy.
space to organize. So I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, and I think they say that because they don't know what nonviolence is.
They don't know the people they don't know the people they are living in their town. They don't know how to manage and deal and organize a story without using violence to control them and to put them in some boxes to make sure the peace is maintained or the order is maintained. I mean, it's totally ridiculous.
Yeah, what they mean by peace, again, is it's just a complete misunderstanding. It
Yeah.
means absence of obvious turmoil. But the real peace, as I define it anyway, as I understand it, is any system in which people are spontaneously concerned with one another's welfare. So when I want everyone in my network to be happy, and I have more or less forgotten about my own happiness, that is going to create a peace community. And where I'm more concerned about satisfying myself than satisfying others, and I don't care what I don't care what I have to do in order to get that satisfaction, then that's not going to be a community at peace.
Yeah.
What was it? I was teaching in Germany one time, and my colleagues, I asked him when I arrived, I said, okay, how are things in Germany today? And he said, with a big sigh, he said, jetzt herrscht Ruhe und Ordnung. Says now everything is quiet and calm, but you know perfectly well that the problems have not been solved.
Yeah. So thank you so much, because this is one of the discussion I wanted to have with you. It's about the situation specifically in the US concerning the dynamic between the African American community and the community of colors, and the tensions, and the process of reconciliation, which doesn't exist in more or less because the situation has not been recognized properly. The compensation has not been done yet, and so I wanted to see with you, because I don't think we are in condition to recognize the violence as a social structure of in our society. So we cannot move on to transform the discrimination because the first step is not done yet.
That's right. But I think when we become aware of who we are and what our destiny is as human beings, then suddenly we will be shocked by what we have done and the institutions that we have built. Now, there are here and there are some institutions attempting to, create a nonviolent future. We have restorative justice as an alternative to retributive justice. We have organic agriculture, and we have some little beginnings of nonviolence education, but I think we need a lot more.
I know we have everything. We could do it overnight. That's not. I mean, I am not worried about that story. I'm more worried about the fact of not recognizing the level of violence in our day-to-day society, at economical level, at the social level, at, I mean, you name it. It's everything has been built. I mean, if somebody commit a violent act, we're going to respond to him violently to the violent act. So I mean, it's no, it's really, and you can go like this to every field, from the abortion law in Texas to the energy crisis in California, and then the pollution, the structure of the economical concentration of money. I mean, it's not 1 inch of the global concept of a society which is not based in violence. And I don't think we are incapacitated today to recognize it and say we cannot move forward without giving up this violence.
Yeah, and I think unfortunately things may have to get a little bit worse before they get better. But there have been many instances in history of societies that almost destroyed themselves by stupidity.
Yeah.
And then when they got really close to the brink, so to speak, so one more step will be in the abyss, dans l'abîme. They suddenly were shocked and they pulled back. So the hope is that we will discover this in time to pull back. And I know I saw a headline in the paper the other day as why don't we teach anti-racism? And my thought was, I have no objection really, but why don't we teach about the unity of life?
Yeah.
When we become aware of the unity of life, racism will disappear by itself.
Yeah.
And it won't have to be a struggle. So that's
no, and I'm not sure people are recognizing that we are discriminate. So if we do an interview to 20 people on the street, and I know my own mother, she was like in France, and then she was like, no, but you know, David, we are not discriminating anybody. I'm like, we were on the train, we were getting out of the train station in Meaux, and it was a line of cops stopping the African community, where we walk like, you know, straight outside the train station without any problem. And so my story is, how can we recognize it? And people who recognize it are the people who are discriminate, are not the discriminator. So that's where it get complicated, because the people who do business, they are not feeling that they are discriminating people, then they are acting violently against the community. They're like, we do business. We are the guys, you know, we control the economical system. Without us, you are nothing. I'm like, oh, I mean, let's try it. So.
Yeah. Well, I think that this has been a problem indefinitely all throughout history, is the problem of apathy and non-recognition. And I do agree with some authors. Like, there's a book called by Nordhaus and Schellenberger, I think, called Breakthrough. And they say that we on the progressive side are kind of stuck in the mode of pointing out horrors and errors and mistakes and injustice and forms of violence. And it's not that those things aren't there, but they're not working. It's not, as you say, David, it's not waking people, it's not getting them to recognize. So what we need to do instead is study the human potential for nonviolence and develop further every nonviolent community. Like, for example, even in the question of war, we have this wonderful institution that's all around the world now called unarmed civilian peacekeeping or unarmed civilian peacemaking. We work with these people a lot at the Metta Center, and they use our materials and so forth. And what they do is they put volunteers who've been, or not volunteers, people who have paid a salary so that third world people can also participate. Mm-hmm. And they're trained in nonviolence, and they go into conflict areas, and they try to create an alternative solution. And it's been very, very successful where it's been tried. but we need to make it much bigger.
Yeah.
So I think the way to make it much bigger is to understand the potential. And to understand the potential, again, it brings us back to my old issue of not understanding who we are,
Yeah.
understanding human nature.
We're running out of time.
Oh.
we could spend the whole day. So,
Yeah.
do you have something you want to plug before we wrap up?
Well, I think I'd like to send people to our website, mettacenter.org, and also to the project's website, which is that one word, thirdharmony.org. And start there. It'll give you a good sense of what the Metta Center does. And if you're still interested, as I hope you will be.
Yeah. I want to do something with you specifically about the documentary, really. About maybe we watch it and then we do a Q&A or something. We do a specific interview. But definitely.
Yeah. Well, it will not be the first time. And it's I love it. So I'd be more than happy to work with you on that.
Thank you so much. Okay. Yes. Thank you for being on the show. It was really a pleasure. And that was your show Face to Face. Please keep watching your news on presenza.com. And we hope to see you and hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much.